It's a stellar day when we do my favorite segment, which I call the Mix It Up. And we demonstrate to our audience how smart we are, that we can have a conversation between people who have different points of view. It can be intelligent, smart, it can be seasoned, it could be a little dirty once in a while, but it's always a good conversation when we mix it up. We bring in the best of the best, and these guys I think we had once before, and they mixed it up quite well, but on the left, attorney Josh Kravitz joins us. He's also a Democratic district leader in New York City. And on the right, Republican strategist, contributor to Metropolitan Magazine, Jadan Horyn joins us. Guys, I couldn't think of a better pairing for National Grab Some Nuts Day. I appreciate you guys being my nuts today.
Absolutely.
All right, so I see Josh got a trim, and Jaden's still going with the quarantine fro, which looks good, man. I wish I had that thing, that's for sure. So guys, let's go. Jadan, let's go to you first on this one. The virus relief bill remains up in the air, and now they say the negotiations are going to continue on, it seems like the Democrats are stuck on keeping $600 a week in extra money to people. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the Democrats absolutely are they're not going to move on their positions. But let's really talk about what this is. This is once again the failure of Washington to come to a conclusion to something that they've known will be a problem for months, and they failed the American people. Whether it's the Republican Party or Democratic Party, they failed the American people, and this is on Congress. This isn't on the president. The president has said numerous times what he wants. And Congress has failed to act. They failed to act in any meaningful way other than passing bizarre legislation that would give far too much without, actually giving real benefits to people. So the $600, yes, that seems to be the sticking point. But frankly, Congress has had a long time to figure this out, and now they're under the gun. So whatever they actually put forward actually won't benefit the American people in the maximum capacity of what it could have been.
Josh, I got friends of mine who say they're calling their workers to come back to work, and the workers are telling them, no way, I'm getting an extra $600. I'll take the summer off.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the $600 makes an impact for people who are particularly at the lowest end of the salary scale. The $600 gives them a bigger boost compared to where they would have otherwise been. But those are poorly paid workers in general, people who actually need it to make ends meet. So it's not people who are making $75,000 a year who are getting a bonus to stay home. It's people who are working at Chipotle and McDonald's who are having that opportunity. Not saying that that's necessarily a good thing, but just look at who it's being directed to. It's being directed to. The $600 nominally makes a big difference for the people who really need it. To Jaden's point, I actually do agree with him. I do think it's a failure of Congress. If we were to ascribe blame to any of the political parties, however, not that we should be in the business of doing that because it's a complete failure. And just as an aside, because I actually work in the area with regard to the PPP program, PPP gave companies 10 weeks payroll. That was the maximum loan amount starting in April. So that's about 2.5 months. We're past that amount now. And now these companies are out of cash. And the loan forgiveness process, if it becomes a grant and becomes forgiven, starts August 8th. And so there is a lot going on, let alone the unemployment for small businesses as well. It's been a failure across the board. The only thing I would say is that the Democrats actually have been trying to play ball and have passed stuff out of the House months ago, whereas the Senate has dawdled and now does not have a solution. And the Senate cannot pass a bill through its own chamber because there's not enough Republican coalescence around any of the ideas. So, of course, at the end of the day, people are being hurt.
Typical
and it's not
gridlock.
A particular political party, but to the average voter who's deciding which party they should ascribe more blame to, in this case, I would say the Republicans sat on their hands more than the Democrats did.
All right, let's not get too comfy with each other here. You guys agreed. I gave you the bell. I like that. But this one, I think, Jay, I'm going to go to you first, Josh. I think the Trump campaign is not faltering. I think they do need to find a message, but I think the left-wing media basically just wants to keep telling us he's faltering, and it's not true. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily think his campaign is faltering either, but the best data point that we have about the national mood right now, I mean, you can look at any poll you want to, but the best data point that we have of the national mood is the 2018 election. That was a 10-point swing from Republicans to Democrat. Yes, in Congress, so Trump is a little bit of an anomaly in the Republican Party, but it was a 10-point swing to the left in that election. And Trump lost the popular vote in 2016 by about 2 points. So you could imagine just by that alone, taking with the national mood in 2018 and assuming Trump's behavior hasn't changed, that Trump should lose the election by about 12 points. Where he's going. Now, when you have the virus and you have people in the Sun Belt and people for Trump in states getting virus, maybe it's hurting him. But at the end of the day, I don't think he's faltering. I think just Trump is being Trump, and most Americans have figured out who he is. And some set of Americans who are willing to give him a chance are no longer interested in that any longer. They want to go back to some sense of normalcy and decency where we're not, getting into fights at Little League games. I always bring that one up, but it's just that our culture has changed because he's a mean person and it's infected everything. And, he's not faltering. He's just who he is, and everyone gets it and everyone sees it.
Jaden, what do you think?
Well, that's a lot to
yeah, that's a lot to unpack right there.
So first, let me just attack the premise. I think categorically the Trump campaign is faltering. They don't have a central message. The president could have come out and said that we are going to hope for the best, but we're going to expect the worst. Here's my economic plan to bring about a recovery, not rely on just a V shape based on pre-existing demand or aggregate demand under what happens with the virus. They haven't done that. They have no strategy when it comes to the reason that Trump should be reelected, other than Trump should be reelected. Everything in January is not where things are in August, and the campaign is not changed to reflect the new reality, and that's an incredible problem. Biden is a historically weak candidate. Hillary Clinton may have been divisive, but she was not weak. Biden is historically weak. He's run for president in almost every decade for the last 4.5 decades and has lost in his own Democratic primary. We have the New York Times coming out and saying that we're not going to have presidential debates. No, not because we're worried about Biden losing. Wink, nod, we're worried about Biden losing, but because they're useless. But yet the Trump campaign is focused on what exactly? No one knows. They're pausing their ads. They're restarting them. Look, they categorically need to restructure what they're doing, and they need to retarget, and they need to find a message that works to convince the American people. I don't believe people have made up their mind. I think most people understand that the economy and the virus are paramount, and once the virus is either eradicated or is minimized, then the economy needs to be the focus. And there is a president who brought us historically the best economy in the last 50 years. Whatever you like or dislike about his personality, ultimately, you need a job, I need a job, and we need to be able to pay our bills. And that's done best under a Republican presidency.
Yeah,
but that's not their message.
We all need our jobs, no doubt about it. Well, maybe one of the ways he can get back on message, my last question, we got 2 minutes left, guys. They want to scrap, the New York Times op-ed says, let's scrap the presidential debates. Is that going to work, Jaden? Give us a minute.
I can't even take a minute. This is ridiculous. This isn't, in 2016, the New York Times ran 2 different articles, one op-ed, about whether or not Donald Trump would have the courage to debate Hillary Clinton. And yet here we are, 4 years later, with the New York Times saying it's possible, it's probable, it's likely that for the benefit of the country, we shouldn't give so much credence to presidential debates, and we should put them in the Dust Bowl of history. Never mind that it was on the strength of presidential debates that Joe Biden was able to make it through after being eviscerated by, his colleagues like Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren, who he's considering for vice president. So that's rather ironic.
May I just make a point?
Not good now.
All right, Josh, I'll give you the last word.
Look, if you read the article in the New York Times, first off, I think we should have presidential debates. I think it's really important that we probe and test the other side's opinion. But the article says, correctly so, that Donald Trump is the P.T. Barnum of American politics. Donald Trump's going to get up there and call Joe Biden's wife ugly and make fun of his deceased son and call the moderator ugly. And, he's a showman, and he has no respect for the institution of the office of the presidency, and he's not going to actually probe the pressing issue. If he wants to actually discuss why the Green New Deal is a bad idea, great. President Trump,
how can we even know that? We're going to just assume that he might be too good of a showman?
Because I've been watching him on TV for 3.5 years, and I know that he's going to basically tell Joe Biden that he has dementia to his face, and he's going to laugh at him and make fun of him and just be the terrible human being that he is. And we just don't need P.T. Barnum.
All right. Well, look, I think we had him for a little while. I think he's one of the most entertaining things on television, me personally, but not as entertaining as you guys. Thank you.
I remember when the big controversy was
man.
when Obama wore a tan suit, and now
the tan suit. All right. Josh Kravitz, Jadan Horyn, thank you very much. You're the best. They agreed twice. That's not bad on 3 topics. We're going to take a quick break and come on back, break down some crazy conspiracy theories.